Dr Webster. Look, last time we spoke, you interviewed me for Inspired Authors TV.
Yes, Catherine.
And today I'd like to interview you because I believe you've written several books. Two that I'd like to focus on today, which relate to eating disorders.
Yes.
Now they are Mum Please Help, which I believe is about anorexia, and Cure Your Eating Disorder. Now, as a doctor, you have a lot of experience in eating disorders, Irina. Would you like to tell me a little bit about your background and what experience you do have?
Yes, Catherine. Certainly, I had a lot of experience with eating disorders, and not only just as a doctor. I was a sufferer myself once.
Gee.
Yeah, you see, when I was about 13 or 14 years of age, I developed an eating disorder. And it all started from me being slightly overweight. And I was teased at school. I was bullied by my friends, especially on physical education classes, for me being a bit bigger. And I actually don't feel that I was really big. I was just more developed than other girls.
Yes.
So I looked a bit bigger. But anyway, to compensate this, I went on a diet. And it started from small changes. Initially I just eliminated certain foods like sweets and sugary and fatty foods. But then it grew on and became very enormous, like a diet, like proper extreme diet. And I lost enormous amount of weight.
Wow.
Yes, I was skeletal, and even my period stopped for a whole year.
Good Lord.
Yes.
How old were you then, Irina?
It was about 13 or 14 years of age. I was a teenager at school. And I went through a lot of medical treatments and counseling, which was available at the time in my country, but it didn't help much. And I continued to suffer about maybe for over 15 years. And nothing helped me. I tried everything. Even when I was a medical school student in university, I still suffered from eating disorder. I still couldn't control my thoughts about starving or binging. So it all started from anorexia, basically.
So sorry to interrupt, was it due to being overweight initially?
Initially, yes. Initially I was a bit overweight. So
and was that from not eating well or just eating the wrong things, or you felt...
I don't know, maybe it was sort of genetic predisposition or combination of problem. But you see, I don't believe I was really overweight. I just was more developed. So it could be my biological things. I don't know. But anyway, when I started on diet, I lost lots of weight, but I still didn't lose hunger. So I still felt hungry. But because the long period of starvation, when I started eating, my body couldn't cope with the food. So I couldn't control when I have to stop. So when I started eating, I just went into binge right away.
Oh, binge eating.
Binge eating. So I just ate enormous amount of food for a very very short time. And then I felt a lot of guilt and shame that I ate so much, so I had to purge myself.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's how I developed bulimia.
So that's bulimia.
Yeah, it was bulimia. And later on, I basically went through periods of bulimia, like when I binged, then I stuffed myself, so I binged and stuffed myself for a long time.
Oh.
Yes. And it was not until I decided that I need to cure myself, because nothing else helped.
No.
So I made a decision I have to cure myself. And I developed my own method or my own strategy based on neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is natural ability of our brain to change itself. So by changing our thoughts, we can change the structure of our brain.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes. So and I put everything it's in my books, all what I've done. But when I was practicing as a doctor, I also recommended this method to many people who suffered from eating disorders.
And you've had a lot of success with this method that you use? Yeah?
Yes. Most of people who used this method, they say that it basically was the only method to stop your eating disorder. Because if you don't believe in yourself that you can stop it, nobody else helps. You have to actually control yourself. In the end of the day, you have to control yourself. Doesn't matter what the doctor or counselor tells you. You come home and you're on your own. You have to control yourself.
What are your thoughts, Irina, on advising parents to, as young as possible, teach their children as young as possible to get a healthy diet and to eat well? What's your advice there?
It is, there are many factors which contribute to developing an eating disorder in a child. So one of them is basically the family itself. If family don't eat healthy and don't know about the food, child more likely to develop an eating disorder. So it is one factor. But eating disorders always about the combination of many factors. There's never one factor that cause eating disorder like anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating. It has to be a combination of wrong food you eat or family eat, and also lots of psychological problem.
So if they're overweight, they become emotionally upset with their weight, and it starts from that.
It is also generally a lot to do with your self-esteem and self-esteem of your family.
And like you said, you were teased at school, and that made you feel
it made you feel really self-conscious. And if you don't have any coping strategies, how to cope and deal with it, you actually turn to food to compensate for the positive emotions, because we all need to experience positive emotions, and food is always kind of the easiest way to find these positive emotions. You always can go eat and feel better. It's
an emotional thing, isn't it?
Emotional thing.
I know if I feel upset, I like to have a piece of chocolate. That always fixes me up.
yes. And many people, especially binge eaters and bulimics, they do the same.
Tell me, Irina, would you give advice to what kind of signs do you think parents would be looking for if their child had an eating disorder? What kind of things would show that the child has an eating disorder?
Yes, early signs of eating disorders are very important for parents to know, because the earlier you start treatment, the easier to help. So first of all, it's simple. If your child happy or unhappy, because eating disorder is associated with a lot of unhappiness. Children start to isolate themselves. Eating disorders associated with isolation, withdrawal from friends, family, and they try to spend lots of time alone in their room. Other signs is eating behavior. You have to look, child can be eating too much or too little. Depends on what kind of eating disorder is developing, because there are different types of eating disorders. And there is like binge eating, the most common, when people binge eat and put lots of weight on. So if your child puts lots of weight on for a very short period of time, so it's definitely something happening. Or other eating disorders like anorexia or bulimia, children can become very skinny for a very short period of time. So this can be a sign. And for bulimics, it's also, you have to watch for disappearance, like a child eats a meal and disappear after eating the meal, disappearing to the bathroom to purge. So this could be another sign to watch.
What should parents do if they suspect their child has an eating disorder? What kind of steps do you advise them to take?
Yes, first of all, I believe family, especially parents, have to look at themselves, at their own eating habits and their own lifestyle and their own attitudes to themselves, to other people, to life, and to love. I believe that children who grow up in a family with cold parental attitude, who have no concept of unconditional love and acceptance, they're more likely to develop an eating disorder. When parents put too much expectation on a child, like my parents actually, I love my parents dearly, but I believe that they just put lots of expectation on me. So for me it was to cope with this expectation and maybe turn to food as well. So it is the other factor. why I think I developed an eating disorder. So yes, parents have to look at themselves and their eating habits, their attitudes to life, their emotional balance.
And so, Irina, you have a website that people can go to. Can you tell us where your website is and where they can buy the books? Yes.
Yes, I have many websites, like websites for each of my books, and also my books available on Amazon as well. But my two big sites I have where they can find everything I have developed, books and CDs. It is www.womenhealthsite.com and another one www.DrIrinaWebster.com. So these two sites, they can find everything, CDs and books and program for eating disorders.
That's wonderful, Irina. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today, and hopefully we can bring some other interesting interviews to you. This is Catherine Chapman from the Fresh Food Friends. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.